There is a profound and quiet architecture to the mind of those who feel the world entirely too deeply. In the early chapters of life, walking through a fast-paced, loud, and constantly demanding world can feel like navigating a foreign land without a map. For those with the rare and complex personality type known as the INFJ, this feeling of being an outsider is deeply familiar. You observe the bustling crowds, the endless pursuit of shallow milestones, the noise of a society obsessed with speed, and you wonder why your heart beats to a completely different, much slower rhythm. You sense the unspoken emotions lingering in a room. You care immensely about the suffering of strangers. You crave profound connections in a culture that often settles for fleeting interactions. This intense depth can lead to a heavy sense of isolation. You might have spent your youth looking in the mirror, quietly asking yourself why you feel so profoundly different, and why the weight of the world seems to rest exclusively on your shoulders. But the passage of time is a brilliant teacher. As the years unfold, the landscape of the soul begins to shift. Life, with all its beautiful and tragic complexities, delivers quiet lessons that fundamentally alter how you view your own existence. You begin to understand that your unique psychological makeup is not a mistake of nature. The very traits that once made you feel like an outcast begin to reveal themselves as your greatest hidden strengths. You start to see that the journey of your life is not about bending yourself to fit into the rigid molds crafted by society. It is not about becoming louder, tougher, or more detached. Rather, growing older is a gentle homecoming. It is the sacred process of becoming more of who you truly are. You slowly release the heavy expectations of the outside world. You learn the delicate art of managing your profound emotional reserves. You begin to weave a life that honors your deep values rather than reacting to the noise of the crowd. This evolution does not happen overnight. It is a quiet, deliberate blooming. Today, we will journey through 6 profound turning points, the essential realizations that reshape the mind and soul as you age, leading you toward a life of profound peace and unwavering purpose. The first great awakening is the realization that your immense sensitivity is not a vulnerability, but a profound strength. From the moment you were born into this world, you were wired to feel everything intensely. You absorb the energy of spaces and people like a sponge. You can look into the eyes of a friend and instantly know they are carrying a hidden sorrow long before they ever speak a word. In your younger days, this exquisite emotional radar often felt like an unbearable burden. Society, particularly in the modern Western world, often praises thick skin and relentless logic. You were likely told you were too sensitive, too emotional, or taking things too seriously. When you hear these criticisms enough times, a dark seed of doubt is planted. You begin to believe that you are flawed. You try to build emotional walls. You attempt to swallow your tears, to mute your empathy, and to wear a mask of indifference just to survive the harshness of the everyday world. But as the years gather, the mask begins to crack and light pours in. You realize that shutting down your sensitivity is a betrayal of your own spirit. Your ability to feel deeply is not a flaw to be fixed. It is a rare and magnificent gift. It is the very bridge that allows you to connect with humanity on a soulful level. You do not just hear words, you hear the heartbeat beneath the words. This makes you an anchor for those adrift, a compassionate partner, and a truly transformative presence in the lives of others. Furthermore, you realize that your sensitivity is your greatest protector. It is a highly tuned internal alarm system that alerts you to deception and toxic environments. As you mature, you stop apologizing for your enormous heart. Instead, you learn to protect it. You build beautiful, sturdy boundaries. You realize that your deep emotional energy is a sacred resource, and not everyone is entitled to consume it. Your sensitivity transforms from a heavy chain into a guiding lantern, illuminating your path with profound emotional intelligence. The second profound realization is a painful but necessary surrender. You finally understand that you cannot save everyone. Because your empathy runs incredibly deep, your immediate instinct when encountering pain is to become the healer. When you see someone broken, lost, or hurting, your soul rushes forward to mend them. You operate under the innocent belief that if you simply give enough love, offer enough patience, and sacrifice enough of your own comfort, you can rescue people from their own demons. In your youth, this savior complex leads you down treacherous paths. You carry the emotional baggage of friends, family members, and partners until your own spine feels like it might snap. You endure unbalanced relationships, pouring your golden energy into endless black holes, hoping that one day, your sheer devotion will spark a change. You empty your own cup to quench the thirst of those who refuse to find their own water. Eventually, the crushing weight of exhaustion forces you to open your eyes. You look around at the landscape of your life and see that you have been a sanctuary for everyone else, yet left out in the cold yourself. This is the turning point. You realize that saving someone is not the same as loving them. More importantly, you learn the hard truth that some people do not want to be saved, and some simply cannot be saved by your hands. Your role in this world is to offer kindness, to walk beside people, but not to carry them on your back at the expense of your own survival. You learn the life-saving magic of the word no. You allow people the dignity of walking their own difficult paths. You stop absorbing the consequences of other people's choices. This does not make you cold or cynical. It makes you wise. You learn to direct your vast compassion toward those who reciprocate, creating a balanced, healthy flow of love. You finally learn to save yourself. The third crucial realization is that absolute solitude is not a luxury, but a vital necessity for your survival. When you were younger, the pressure to conform to an extroverted society was immense. You attended the noisy parties. You filled your calendar with social obligations, and you tried desperately to keep pace with a culture that equates constant motion with success. Because you deeply care for people, you wanted to be present for every event, every friend in need, and every family gathering. But beneath the smiles and the polite small talk, an invisible drain was pulling at your life force. For someone with your psychological architecture, navigating a highly stimulating environment is like running a marathon with no finish line in sight. The superficial conversations feel hollow, and the chaotic energies of crowds scramble your internal peace. You used to wonder why a simple afternoon at a crowded cafe left you needing a week of silence to recover. As wisdom settles in, the guilt of seeking isolation evaporates. You recognize that your alone time is the sacred oxygen your soul needs to breathe. It is not an act of rejection against the world. It is an act of profound self-preservation. In the quiet, empty spaces of your life, you finally hear your own voice. Solitude is your laboratory. It is where you untangle the complex web of emotions you have absorbed from others. It is where you dream, where you plan, and where you align your inner compass. You stop making excuses for staying home on a Friday night. You politely but firmly decline invitations that feel heavy to your spirit. You begin to treat your quiet hours with the reverence of a holy ritual, and a beautiful paradox emerges. By fierce protecting your alone time, you actually become a better friend, a better partner, and a brighter light. Because when you do choose to step back into the world, you offer your true, fully recharged self, rather than a hollow, exhausted shell. The fourth turning point is the deeply liberating realization that authenticity is infinitely more valuable than approval. The human desire to belong is universal, but for a peacemaker like you, the urge to maintain harmony is almost an obsession in your early years. You feared conflict like a blazing fire. To avoid upsetting the delicate balance of your relationships, you became a master of emotional camouflage. You altered your opinions to match the room. You laughed at jokes you did not find funny. You swallowed your brilliant insights because they might challenge the status quo. You traded the rich truth of who you were for the cheap comfort of being universally liked. But a life lived in disguise is a heavy burden to bear. The harmony you created was an illusion, bought with the currency of your own self-betrayal. Slowly, a profound emptiness crept in. You realize that being loved for a character you are playing is just another form of profound loneliness. The breaking point arrives when you decide that you can no longer suffocate your spirit just to keep others comfortable. You make the terrifying but glorious decision to step into your undeniable truth. You realize that the applause of a crowd means nothing if you have lost your own soul in the process. You begin to speak your mind, even when your voice shakes. You establish boundaries that cause friction, knowing that friction is sometimes the only way to create light. You let go of the desperate need to be palatable to everyone. Yes, some people walk away. The ones who only love the compliant, silent version of you will inevitably fade into the background, but in the space they leave behind, a miracle occurs. Your authenticity acts as a beacon. You begin to attract the rare, beautiful souls who resonate with your true frequency. You discover that true peace does not come from universal approval. True peace comes from looking in the mirror and having profound respect for the person staring back at you. The fifth profound realization is the absolute trustworthiness of your inner intuition. You possess an internal guidance system that operates beyond the realms of pure logic. It is a quiet knowing, a subtle hum in your chest that tells you when a room is unsafe, when a person is wearing a mask, or when a major life decision is out of alignment. But the modern world does not easily respect what it cannot measure. When you were young, you likely tried to explain these gut feelings to others, only to be met with skepticism. You were told you were overthinking, imagining things, or being irrational. Driven by self-doubt, you began to silence that inner voice. You forced yourself to ignore the red flags waving right in front of your eyes. You convinced yourself to stay in toxic jobs or damaging relationships, because on paper, everything looked perfectly fine. You betrayed your own instinct, and almost every time, life eventually proved that your first quiet feeling was entirely correct. As you age, you gather the evidence of all those ignored warnings, and you make a solemn vow never to doubt yourself again. You realize that your intuition is the culmination of your deep observation, your emotional intelligence, and the wisdom of your spirit. It is not irrational, it is super-rational. It processes information faster than your conscious mind can comprehend. You stop demanding concrete proof before you remove yourself from a situation that feels wrong. You stop asking 10 different people for advice when your soul has already delivered the answer. You embrace the quiet confidence that comes from inner knowing. This trust simplifies your life beautifully. It cuts through the noise and confusion of the modern world. You navigate your career, your relationships, and your personal growth with the steady hand of a ship's captain who knows how to read the stars. Your intuition ceases to be a mysterious quirk and becomes your most reliable, cherished guide through the complexities of existence. The sixth and perhaps most gentle realization is that true growth requires the absolute embrace of imperfection. Your idealistic nature is a beautiful thing. It drives you to seek meaning, to create beauty, and to elevate the world around you. But in the shadows of idealism lies the cruel trap of perfectionism. For years, you held yourself to an impossible, unforgiving standard. You believed that if you could just say the perfect words, make the flawless decisions, and execute your plans without a single mistake, you could finally earn your right to be happy. Every minor error felt like a catastrophic failure. Every awkward interaction played on a relentless loop in your mind late at night. You carried a heavy shame regarding your own humanity, falsely believing that your flaws disqualified you from greatness and from love. This relentless pursuit of perfection is an exhausting treadmill that leads nowhere but to burnout and deep spiritual sorrow. The journey of your life is not a loud, dramatic conquest. It is a quiet, profound pilgrimage back to your own soul. The struggles you have faced, the overwhelming sensitivity, the boundaries you had to violently fight for, the crushing weight of perfectionism. These were not punishments. They were the fire that forged your immense wisdom. With every passing year, you stand a little taller, breathe a little deeper, and love a little more honestly. You are learning that to be deeply feeling in a numb world is a monumental act of courage, so let the noise of the world rush by. You do not need to keep up. You have built a sanctuary within yourself, constructed from the bricks of authenticity, illuminated by the light of intuition, and warmed by the fire of radical self-acceptance. Rest well in the beautiful truth that you do not need to change who you are to be worthy. Your only task in this beautiful, fleeting life is to bravely, softly, and unapologetically be exactly who you were always meant to be. May you find profound peace on your continued journey.